Welcome, everybody. This is a What's Up For You call, and it is February 11th, 2025. So, before we start, I do just want to say that for those of you that are sensitive to and or follow the Schumann resonance, I've talked about it a couple times in a couple different places, but if you're sensitive to it, it's been quite off the charts again. And so especially over the last couple days. So if that is something that you're sensitive to, what you might be noticing is a little bit of scattered thought. You might be noticing headaches and headaches, nausea, exhaustion, those kinds of things. Anytime those big waves of energy come in, and especially this last one, just looking at it, it's not just hitting the upper chakras, but in many cases, it's going all the way down into the heart space as well, heart chakra, and even lower than that. So there can be a lot of things going on there. I mentioned the Schumann resonance a lot on these calls because, quite frankly, you all are probably energetically sensitive enough to pick these up. But if you're working with kids or have your own kids who are energetically sensitive, they're definitely picking this up because it's just one of those frequency bands that they're really tuned into. So, okay, my dear, I think we'll leave it at that. And where would you like to go, Sharon?
All right, this first question is, I want to check in on the energetic health of my younger daughter, Amelia, age 12. She has this warm, swollen part on her right ankle that has been with her for a long time. We have done various modalities, but it still lingers. She does not want to do more work with our nature path. Other than this, she seems very healthy and so excited to be alive on this earth. Thank you.
Okay, and just a bit of a precursor, I'm not giving medical advice. So I'm just kind of looking at the energetics of things and just seeing what it shows up like energetically. So let me see here. What this looks like is it looks like this holding pattern or this place where it looks like she's holding energy in that part of the ankle or the foot, right? And it's like it's going to be dispersed. It wants to be dispersed, but there's a bit of a timing issue with when it's dispersed. I think it's one of those things that comes up and goes back down without much. It's one of those kind of anomalies. It's one of those odd things that a lot of people are experiencing right now, quite frankly, where something coagulates in the body, it's held in the body for a while. It might be an old emotion. It looks like it's part of something that's been running through the lymphatic system. I don't know why it looks like that, but it's kind of coagulated at the very bottom of the body, and it's getting ready to be dispersed, you might say. I think that's why she's might be unconsciously tuned into the fact that it doesn't need necessarily any more kind of medical attention in that way through the naturopath. I think she's already sensing that it's going to release itself. And it literally looks like it has to do with emotion and moving forward and just what she wants to do next, how she wants to do it. And for whatever reason, she's just holding on to it for a minute. I think it's a timing issue, but give it a week. I think it's gonna drop out. Yeah.
I have always been a shaky person. It seems to affect the female line from my maternal grandmother down through to my daughter, but this has gotten worse since I entered menopause. I have sought physical answers, but nothing has been diagnosed, so I am wondering if there is something energetically causing this. Thank you.
I have a question mark about whether or not I think the timing of your starting that menopausal time also correlates with a big influx in energy. And what I notice is when we go down through that maternal line in your family, that the whole maternal line is very sensitive to, I think you're all very sensitive to energy in your own ways. You might not necessarily claim that, or generations past may not have claimed that as a truth, but it does look like everybody down that maternal line is very sensitive to different energies. And I think as there's been this huge influx of energy, especially, even I'd say from 2019 on, I mean, that's when it's really was coming in fast and furious. I think that that's something that starts to dysregulate the nervous system. And when the nervous system starts to dysregulate, it starts to vibrate or shake. Yeah. And then once we get into those shakes, then we assume it's something that we think it is, but it's not that. It's the way you're showing it to me. So let's go into the central nervous system here for a second. Let's see if there's anything that can be reset. Yeah, we want you fully appreciating and honoring the wisdom that comes with all those menopausal years. Yeah. Let me see here. Uh, okay. It's definitely running down through the DNA. So I'm trying to track it back a little bit and see where this started. Yeah, we're actually going, this is a patterning in the DNA. And it, again, everybody, as far as I look back, I'm going sensitive souls, sensitive, sensitive, sensitive. And if we go back several generations, 4, 5, maybe even 6 generations, so we're going back a long way, it's almost like that sensitivity was also met with some kind of, I'm going to say there was some kind of trauma that was directly correlated with that kind of sensitivity. Once that trauma was set, along with that sensitivity, then there's a tremor, there's a shake, there's anytime bigger energies start coming in, it's almost like a unconscious reminder that, I don't know, like you might be called out or something, but it's not yours, it's not your mother's, it's not her mother's, it's further back than that. So let's just clear that whole field from the DNA. Let's go back to the origin and get that and clear that out of the DNA. There we go, there we go, there we go. Okay, so one of the things I'm just going to say, anytime we do any kind of this kind of work, any DNA kind of clearing, you might go through a short period of time where it's almost like it amps up, like the shake, it'll rev through and then pass. Yeah, it's almost like it's gearing itself up, it's moving that energy through, and then it'll start to dissipate. So there we go. I'm just looking if there's anything else. Yeah, it is a sensitivity to energy. It's a sensitivity to very subtle energy. Yeah, that got wrapped up with a trauma, and we release the trauma, and then it starts to flow again down through the lineage. So let's see how that does. Yeah. Yeah. It's not It's not what you think it is. It's not what you thought it was. Yeah. Okay.
I have had chronic fatigue syndrome for many years, and as I age, this is complicated by other health challenges. Life is getting harder to manage, and I get depressed about my condition. I have pursued many paths, including working with my sensitive nervous system. I'd appreciate any energetic insights into my energy and condition. Thank you.
One of the things I want to add here is that with all of this extremely high frequency energy that's coming in for any of us with any of our old conditions that might have been dormant or not so dormant throughout our lives, those conditions are, you might say, under the microscope, or they're literally being flushed out. So some of I'm watching that in my own with my own levels of fatigue and things like that. That's why I'm watching the Schumann resonance right now so much, because sometimes it helps me to just kind of know, okay, well, that's a high frequency energy coming in right now. And I can, instead of thinking something's quote unquote wrong, then I can kind of say, this too shall pass, so to speak. It's like it's being flushed out by that high frequency light. And so therefore we don't have to add energy to what's wrong, this, because you think about it, we all get in cycles of, this is a condition that I've had for my whole life, and it's getting worse. And the more we're adding to that kind of energy, it's getting worse, it's getting heavier. We negate its capacity to move through, so to speak. We kind of hold it in a certain pattern. And so that's true of any of the symptomology that might be coming up for any of us right now. The other thing that I'll say generally, and then I'll go back to this question, is especially when you're moving from one vibrational state to a brand new one, this will get really heightened for a little bit. Yeah, it's like when you're literally making that jump into, you might say, like a new state of consciousness, the body is trying to hold on to everything that it's known, and this light's coming in and it's pushing you up over the edge. And so there's a little bit of a battle that goes on between our old patterning, our old biological patterning, and what we're trying to be pushed past. So every now and again, right there, these kinds of physical symptoms will get enhanced for a short period of time. But again, if we align with that light, if we align with what's trying to move out and move through us, then it can shorten that cycle, right? But the minute the mind goes, oh my gosh, I've always had this, here it comes again, something's broken, something's wrong, I got to fix myself, then that has a tendency to lock into that old pattern again. So, okay, so chronic fatigue, just give me the highlights again, Sharon.
All right. She just appreciate any energetic insights into her energy and condition.
Right, okay, all right, so let me go back to this specific person. You know, you're shifting quite a bit, I got to tell you. I mean, you whether you're consciously aligned with these shifts and doing this on purpose or not, meaning being in alignment with it or not, you really are purging quite a bit. And where chronic fatigue has meant something in the past, um, chronic, let me say this, chronic fatigue in this case could be a means of, what do I want to say here? Hold on a second, let me get into a different hold on a second. Let me say it like this. The opportunity for you to say no and to mean no when you say it is really part of the chronic fatigue piece. So sometimes, we're parents and caregivers and support people, and very often the body's response when we would really like to say no, but for whatever reason can't or don't feel like it might be the appropriate thing to say, our bodies will go into a reaction and kind of go, I can't do this, right? It's like the body will take over and say, this is my no, is what I keep hearing for you. This is my no. My no is I have chronic fatigue and I can't do it anyway anymore, right? It's like, so, and what's happening, or what looks like it's happening right now energetically, is the chronic fatigue has been a means of saying no when, or a means of supporting yourself, supporting your body when it needed the support. And now the body is asking that you bring this into consciousness and to say no when you mean no, right? To literally say no when you mean no. And that in and of itself is going to help let the body feel comfortable enough to know that it doesn't have to go into a pattern of chronic fatigue. It's the body itself is going to start to trust that your no means no, and it'll start regaining some of its energy. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, it's like, it's always tricky to say no, especially when you've got a big caring heart and you want to be of support. And yeah, so okay.
My son Nicola is 9 years old, and recently he started to try all kinds of food and flavors. Since his early age, he had gut issues, and we try all kinds of things to help him, but it was always hard to put him on some restrictive diet as he was a picky eater. Now, when he wants to try and explore different kinds of food, it's also hard to do some restrictions, as we are sure that good choice of food can help him a lot. We also believe that Nicola would share with us what we can do to help him feel better in his body. Thank you.
Definitely does need some gut support. And I get it. I mean, it's kind of it's a push and pull for sure, because you want a variety of foods and things like that, but you also want things that are supportive to the gut. So eh, I guess, can you give me just a yes or no in the chat? I mean, do you have some protocols that you're using that do support the gut, even though the diet's kind of fluctuating a little bit? Usually, yes, not right now. Okay, so I think that what we want to do is we want to go back to some kind of gut support protocol. That can be as simple, sometimes a little dabble do, yeah, like just a little bit of support can help the gut to transmute some of the other things that that he might want to try, or those kinds of things. So I'm not suggesting this product, but this is a product that works, that seems to be helpful. It's called IONS, IONS, gut health support, I think. And it's the reason I like this particular product is it kind of tastes like water. Yeah. So, I mean, for kids who are kind of sensitive to taste and that kind of thing, it can just give a little bit of extra support. The other thing I will say with this kind of product as well, and a little dabble, do you start like maybe with half what's recommended and work your way up? Just so he doesn't get any. The other thing I will say here is that although some of what's being introduced, can really be supported by with a little bit of extra gut support. The other thing that he is showing me is refined sugars for him really are hard on him. So yeah, he's just showing me that refined sugars are really hard. That doesn't mean that fruit sugars and other kinds might not be workable, but that is one substitute I would make as often as you can. I just, yeah, it's really hard for his gut to break down, and it has other ramifications in the body as well. Yeah, just something he seems sensitive to. Okay.
Adam will be graduating in May, and we are preparing next steps for him. I would like to include him in the process and ask him his input in particular. There is a program we could pursue that may advance his skills through eliminating root reflexes and building new neural pathways. Due to the intensity of such a program, I would like to know if this is the directions his soul would like to pursue, and if he feels there would be a significant benefit for him to follow through with the program. Thank you for any insight.
Can you give me his first name again, Sharon?
Adam.
Adam. Okay. Let me see. Adam, what do you want to do here? There is a little bit of apprehension about it. It's kind of a little bit of a nervousness because of the intensity of it. That said, he is all about getting to the root cause. I think that in many ways, this is one of those scenarios where he might have put that idea even into your head as far as next steps for him. And that doesn't mean that there's not a little bit of apprehension around it. So that's why you're probably picking up a bit of a mixed message. Like, this seems like the next step, but oh, do we really want to do that? I think that's actually Adam's both intent and apprehension that you're picking up, kind of through his energetic fields. He definitely, he's like, let's get to the root of this, like, let's root it out, is definitely something that he is curious about and interested in. I'm just asking him a couple other questions. Hold on just a second. The other thing okay. So the other thing that I want to say, and might sound strange, but I want to put it into the mix here. Adam keeps bringing in or showing me like a future self, a future version of himself. And so it's almost like he's pulling in this future version of himself as part of this process as well. And so he shows me, okay, here's the idea. We're going to root this out. We're going to move through this. Yes, I have a little bit of apprehension about that. But then he shows me like this Adam out in front of him that he's literally pulling in, or he's pulling himself towards. When I go to that future Adam, you might say, I see a nervous system that's much more regulated. I see it's like I see a level of embodiment or a connection point within himself that feels much more stable. So I think he's showing us that so that as you're going through this process, when it gets a little dicey, when it gets a little challenging, that you remember what you're going towards. Yeah, he's very much like, yeah, this is what it's almost like he's showing me the future self or the outcome of that process. And he's saying it's not that it's going to be without its challenges, but it really does create a level of stability in his body, a level of coherence, you might say. He just feels more like when I feel him now, and then when I feel him in that future self, the future self is much more, huh, I'm here. Yeah, it's like feels more stabilized in himself. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
Could you explain how you use tuning forks to help autistic children? I'm interested in using these with my own son. Thank you.
I haven't used them in a really long time, but that's because we're kind of doing it vibrational tuning, like in the energetic fields now. But when we use physical tuning forks, think about it like I'll share with you what Riley shared with me back in the day when we were using tuning forks and when I've used them with other kids. Think about one tuning fork being the vibration of the soul and one tuning fork being the vibration of the body. If hold on a second, Sandario ke kyo era sandario ke yeyu ke sandario ke chichu sinkyo ko. Okay, don't go so fast. Wait a minute. Dario ke menjinjuism. Okay, right. So let's start here, and then we're going to expand this a little bit. So you can get a series of tuning forks, right? And you can literally start playing with them. Which one does he want? Which one does he like? Yeah. And I would specifically say, this one's for your soul, this one's for your body, right? Which one do you want? And let him find the one that he likes for each one of those fields of energy, and then start hitting them together so that there's a vibratory wave that creates you might say, a bridge or a balance or a harmonizing between those two fields. As far as I'm concerned, autism and any really high energetic sensitivity is always a mismatch between the vibration of the soul and the vibration of the body. So tuning forks used in that way just gives us an opportunity to like literally be able to feel in the body, to hear in the body, or to hear through the ears, through the senses, through the auditory system. Like these are the tones, this is the harmony that helps make these two fields go together, right? Yeah. And then in addition to that, he's saying that to use those, once you find that those two bigger fields that are trying to harmonize, you can also take those tuning forks and ask him where he wants them on his body. Because let's say the upper chakras are probably pretty much his crown, his soul star, his crown, even his third eye are all pretty lined up with his soul, right? That part of the body mechanism is already kind of lined up. When we start dropping down into the throat and into the heart, there becomes a little bit of discord. When we get down into the solar plexus, the sacral, then that discord becomes even more. That doesn't have anything to do with him not having a big wide open heart, because he does. It's just that if you think about it, like if each one of those fields of energy is more and more dense, you might say vibrationally dense, then each one of those fields of energy needs to build a little bit more coherence for that soul to feel like it can fully move down through, right? So once you find those two tones, he might want you to put those on his chest. He might want you to put them on his belly. He might want you to, put them on his rear end, put them on the tailbone, right? But let him show you where he wants those to go. Yep, we're not trying to push it or force it or anything like that. We're just saying, here's the tones. Now, where do you want it in your body? He might even say, like on his arm or on his head or wherever he wants you to put it. I'd follow his lead on that.
All right, I'm going to read. We had another question about tuning forks, and I'm going to read it because it's actually from practitioners. So,
Okay.
there is a group of biotuning practitioners, a wellness modality using tuning forks, that has been listening to the telepathy tapes and is very curious what you did to bring the light body and the physical body together with tuning forks. What frequency you used most often, and how you worked with them are the questions we have.
So I wish I knew that this was going to be as big of a thing all these years later, because I would have paid more attention back then to what was actually being used. But I think that one of the things that what I really want to say about this is, please let's not make this a standardized protocol, because just like every soul coming in has different intentions and different desires, the vibration of the soul and the vibration of the body are going to be unique to each individual, right? I mean, when I was doing this with Riley and a couple other kids, number one, I was doing it because they asked for it, not because I had a preconceived idea that that was what was going to work, but literally that's what I was hearing. If you already have an idea that this kind of tuning fork can work, which it can, then let's leave it open to the kids. And that's why I'm saying it's no, regardless of how you get the information, and even kids who are completely nonverbal, even when you're maybe not telepathic or they're not spelling, you can hit a tuning fork and put it close to their body, and you'll know by their body whether it's something that they're moving towards or backing up from. Every one of these kids is in there, right? As they say in the telepathy tapes, they're all in there. So if you verbally say, this one is for your soul, which one do you like? This one is for your body, which one do you like? And then literally watch how their bodies react, right? You'll find the two tones that are ideal for them. Because you're a practitioner and working with tuning forks, the other thing I'm being told to tell you is sometimes there are other fields that are impacting integration, right? And so that's something you're going to want to play with too. It might not start with two, start with one for the soul and one for the body, and let that come into harmony, right? Come into harmony. Let that, like we were saying earlier, where does he or she want that vibrating through their body? And then what you might find is especially when you get into some of the denser frequencies of the body, that can be the chakra system, that can be the emotional body, that can be the mental body, that can be other fields. When you get into that once you've gotten into that density, then the next thing you're going to want to do is, okay, what tuning fork can help? The way they're showing it to me is like melt that I don't like the use to word, I don't like the word block. Two tuning forks, soul and body, placing them on the body. When you're placing them on the body and the energy underneath that body part or that place on the body doesn't melt, then you're going to ask for a tuning fork that will help it to melt. You'll use that single tuning fork, and then you'll go back to using the two again. Yeah. Yeah. But it is absolutely going to be different. Kids are coming from different planets, different star systems, different frequency bands, different realities, so those frequencies that are being chosen are going to be very unique for the kids. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good modality, though. Looks like it's going to work really well. So,
How can I help 8-year-old Raiden do better transitions between places in school? If possible, I am curious to know whether you're asking him that question or someone else.
whether I'm asking him that question or someone else.
Yeah, I think the mom is curious if you're asking Raiden directly or if you're asking somebody else.
Oh, you mean, am I asking, I'm trying to get this. I'm asking Raiden's higher self
There you
is, yeah, is that what you're asking? Yeah, I'm asking the higher self of him, the part of him that knows is where I go to access all of the kids. And like I was saying, the kids are in different vibrational states. They're in different vibrational fields, like their higher selves, you might say, are in different stratas. And so I'm just tuning myself into that particular strata, you might say. And yeah, getting the information from there. So not to say that I don't get some help from Divine Mother, Divine Father, Divine Child, because I call in that a lot too. So, okay, so let me say the first part again, Sharon.
go. How can you help 8-year-old Raiden do better transitions between places in school?
Yeah, okay. I'm going back to what he originally showed me, which is a little different than we might think it would be, but every space has a different vibration, right? So, like if we're out walking in a mall, that has a certain vibration. If we walk into a church, that has a certain vibration. When we go into our homes, that has a different vibration. Raiden's very sensitive to the vibration of different spaces, right? So I'm going to suggest something that's kind of odd to do, but I think based on what he's showing me, it might be really helpful. Let's say you're going from home to school or home to a certain location. Before you leave the house, pull that location, like invite the energy of that location into right here, right now. It's like if I was getting ready to go to the grocery store later today and I had this same sensitivity, in order to make it easier for me to move from one to the other, I'm going to pull the energy of the grocery store to me as I sit here in my house preparing to go. And I'm going to carry the energy of the grocery store with me as I get in my car and then go to the grocery store. So if you're working with him, like in a situation where, you're in school and you're transitioning him from, say the lunchroom to the classroom to the therapy room, the same thing applies. We're just saying, and you don't have to even use words like energy or vibration. You can just say, okay, we're getting ready to go to therapy, the therapy room or the lunchroom in about 10 minutes. Let's start feeling the lunchroom. Let's start feeling the energy of the lunchroom, right? Let's start feeling it right here, right now. How's that feel? How are you doing? Right? It's like it's giving him vibrational information so that he's in charge of stepping into that space instead of just being bombarded by stepping into that space. Remember, a lot of kids diagnosed on the spectrum, they're let's say at a physical body level, at the level of the body, their bodies are being led by you. It's like, so they're being taken from one place to the next. And a lot of times, because they're not as connected to the body, we grab their hand, we say, okay, it's time to go to the next location. And they're being moved through all these different vibrations and all these different spaces. And they're sensitive to all of it because their bodies are wide open up here. And they're kind of like, oh, I'm a little disoriented by all of it. And then we get them into the lunchroom or into the whatever space. And then they're trying to acclimate. And because that creates a stress in their bodies, anytime somebody grabs their hand, they're a little bit more hesitant to go anywhere, right? It's like, I'm not sure I want to do that. So let's create as much success for them as we possibly can. And we're going to invite that energy in first. This is where you're going. This is where we're going next. Some kids benefit from pictures and things like that. But quite honestly, with him, you could literally just say, this is where we're going next. Let's feel that. Let's hold that. And then let's go towards it. Right? Yeah. That's what he's showing me. Yeah. Okay.
My nonverbal 9-year-old son, Carter, is scheduled to undergo anesthesia for extensive dental work this Friday. I now believe self-injurious behaviors may have been related to his dental pain. I've been working through cycles of guilt, fear, and worry, which leads me back into compassion and gratitude, and then it cycles through again as we prepare for this procedure. I'm wondering if you can offer guidance and insight on what Carter needs energetically to prepare both myself and him for this experience.
First off, it's a great thing. I mean, it's like it really is a good thing to have this surgery. The anesthesia actually is, you might say it's an opportunity to connect. Let me see how I'm gonna articulate this. Hold on a second. I want to tell you a story first. I just share something with you, and then we're going to tighten this up a little bit. So when my daughter had her wisdom teeth out and she was under anesthesia, and she was, she was older than Carter is, but she was really nervous about the anesthesia and that kind of thing. I was nervous about the anesthesia. And what I heard to tell her was to tell her while she's under anesthesia, just come sit with me in the waiting room. And when it's time to go back, then she would feel comforted. She would feel supported. And even more so with Carter, because Carter's already kind of in that state of kind of the same state that we would experience under anesthesia. Like when we're a little groggy, that up and out state can feel somewhat similar. So one of the things that I think will make both of you feel comfortable during that experience is to literally say out loud to Carter, like while you're asleep, you just come sit with me and I'll hug on you, I'll love on you, I'll support you. It's like, and the reason I'm saying that is when I did that with my daughter, I literally visibly saw her soul or her spirit walk right through the door. she sat down next to me in the waiting room. And, I just literally was just holding her hand, her little, energetic hand, I guess, the whole time. And then all of a sudden I could feel it. It's like slipped away. And next thing I know, they came out and told me that she was out of anesthesia, right? That she was coming out of it and I could come back. So I'm saying that, and honestly, regardless of whether you actually see it that way or not, I have a feeling that you're really going to feel his presence with you. And so it's kind of like, yeah, he gets to be nurtured through that whole process, plus gets to have whatever's going on with his dental work. I mean, any of the dental work that's needed, that'll be taken care of by them, but you're taking care of the love and the support and the nurturing and all of those things that you would do, if he was right there physically with you. So that is going to be really helpful in and of itself. It also, I think, might just be helpful to know it really is a good thing to do. He's not, um, and I want to ask one more. Uh, Hold on a second. I just want to make sure that this is a-okay. That it kyoko ka mention juasan that you come. That you can kyoko ka kinosam. Brooke, the other thing that I'm going to suggest here, and is that when you invite Carter back into his body, that you invite him deeper into his body than where he left. And you're going to be able to create that invitation to do that by, all of that, the fear, worry, and concern that I know you have because you're a mom and your kid's going under anesthesia, right? It's like all that feeling that you have in your gut, like that, oh, it's like, I'm nervous, I'm nervous. Um, if you'll keep clearing that out, just as it comes up, okay, I'm letting that go. I'm clearing that out. I'm clearing that out. I'm going to invite Carter to sit with me during the whole process. I'm going to be sending him loving thoughts. I'm going to nurture him. I'm going to support him. But because you're clearing that out lower in the body, you're also going to say to Carter, Carter, when you come back in, I've made a nice little space for you. Yeah, and he made a nice little space even a little bit lower in the body if you so choose it. Yeah, only if you so choose it. But I have a feeling that he'll so choose it. So what I'm saying is he might come out of anesthesia a little bit more connected to his body than he's been able to be in the past. So, yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm a 29-year-old woman with autism, and I have been struggling with not being in my physical body since childhood. I can clearly feel I'm not truly embodied, especially not in my legs, which feels very scary to me, and it makes it difficult to stand and walk. I even use a wheelchair because of this. What can I do to become embodied? All the standard practices, tools, and therapies for grounding, etc., don't work for me or even make it worse. Thank you for your beautiful work.
So I don't know if this is true or not, but this is just what you're showing me. So I think that this is based on, I think that this is based on a trauma pattern that's held, kind of like, I'll say, right behind the sacral chakra and down into the pelvic girdle. It's almost like, because when I look at, light bodies and physical bodies and things like that for you, it's like your light body is sitting down in your pelvic girdle while you're sitting in that chair. But the minute I stand you up, it goes back up, and it goes back up around, like, right underneath the solar plexus, kind of, yeah, right around the solar plexus area. So let me see. let me, I want to see if we can ease up some of whatever this trauma pattern is that's down around the sacral in that pelvic girdle. So let's see if we can clear that. And then let's also add on top of that, what are some techniques and things like that that you can use to help continue, keep that open is basically, because to me, it feels like your energy, it's not for a lack of trying. I can really see how much you have been trying to put these things to these two fields together. It's almost like though when you get down into that sacral energy, it's like you hit a brick. It's like there's got this beautiful light energy coming down through, and you get down into that sacral pattern, and it's like hitting a brick wall. So that brick wall is not telling you don't go any further in the sense, but some of the trauma is saying, oh, no, 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 this is scary, don't come any further, right? So let's see if we can't clear that out. Yeah, come on. Hold on a second. So we're actually, you got a whole team of beings that are wanting to be of support too. So we're gonna, they've been with you, it looks like, through a variety of traumas, you might say, experiences. They've been right there and they're coming back again. It's like, here we are, let's do this together kind of thing. So, all right. So with everything that they know about this, and we're just gonna lift, it's like lifting out a brick. It's literally, it looks like there's a brick in your sacral energy pelvic girdle. Let's just lift out the whole thing and see what can flow, because we do. Okay, the whole thing, yeah, you guys take that and let's see what happens. There's just trepidation, right? There's just trepidation, and it's completely understandable. Can be scary as all get out to be here. And here isn't always loving and kind and supportive, so I totally, this has been a great defense mechanism for you, and rightly so. So we're not going to negate any of that. We're just pulling this brick out. And then we're going to, yeah, let's let this energy, almost anything that was above the brick, we're just letting that energy settle down into the pelvic girdle. We're not asking you to stand up. We're not asking you to, there's no push, there's no shove. There's just, think about it like the way you're showing it to me is like, with that brick out, we're allowed to put some of this beautiful soul energy down into that pelvic girdle. It feels very warm to me. It feels very like supportive, nurturing. You might even say like that divine mother kind of energy. And it's just filling up that whole field. And we're not asking that field to move or change or do anything other than really start to absorb and take in some of this warmth. Because literally before, with that brick there, it felt like from about this sacral down, it just felt cold. It felt like literally like you were describing, nobody was home. So okay, with that out, we're just let it feel warm. Doesn't have to feel warm down into your legs yet. We want this to feel really nurturing, very comforting, almost like that you could sit in that comfort, you could sit in that love, support for a really long time and be completely content. right? That's kind of the sensation. It's not that it's not going to go further down the legs. It will, but first we want to really saturate sacral root. Almost looks like you're filling it up, like if the pelvic girdle was a bowl, you're filling it up with like this warm, yummy, nurturing. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's you. That's you, girl. That's who. There we go. There, there we go. Let it fill up. Okay, we're gonna leave it here. Brick's gone. Yep, they're gonna return that to before it was ever created. They'll take it back. Your focus right now is just feeling warmth in that pelvic girdle and no push. No, you don't need anybody pushing you to stand up or make it happen yesterday. None of that. That's not nurturing, right? So we're just filling up that whole space, and then there's naturally going to be a, a desire or an impetus to let that energy start going down the legs. And when and only when that energy starts to run naturally down the legs, do you start working with that? For right now, it's all about nurturing that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 Beautiful, beautiful energy that's moving down there. So yeah, keep going. Keep going. Whew, that brings me to tears too. Wow. Yeah, I could really feel that like moving through. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. Anything else, Sharon?
Time for last words.
Okay, that sounds great. What a great note to end on. Thank you for that. Okay, so I guess the thing that I really just want to plant the seed about is, again, I'm learning more about this every day as well. Everything is energy. And so when we look at it through the lens of its energy, and it might have coagulated into something, it's like a good question right now is, what's the counterbalance to that energy? So check, if we check in on anything and we feel stress or tension or overwhelm or compression, then the counterbalance to that is going to be a little bit of an addition of energy of, that triad of love, compassion, and understanding can always do the trick. That's a good stable one to go to over and over again. But if we literally think about, instead of thinking about the story about whatever is going on in our bodies or what we think it means, I'm just going to suggest that it just doesn't mean what we think it means. If whatever we thought it meant was it would have been gone by now. Yeah, it would have already shifted. So it's not what we think it is. So let's not think so much about it. Let's kind of go, it feels like some compression in my heart, or it feels like a pain in my shoulder. It's like it feels like that. Well, what kind of energy might support that? Oh, it's like that compression might do really well with some opening energy, right? Okay, let's just create an open field. Let's bring that to the heart. Yeah. It's like that heaviness in the shoulder or whatever it is. It's like a little bit of lightness. It's like, let's just start counterbalancing some of these energies. And it's a really good exercise to at least start playing with, because quite frankly, as these years progress, we're just going to get more and more tuned in to the awareness that it is all energy. Yep. And the more we start playing with it now, um, and acknowledging that, the more we're going to be a little bit surprised and delighted by how things can move. Yeah. Let's not lock ourselves into any story. There we go. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go then. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I always love these conversations, and it's fun to check in with everybody. All right. I will see you next month. Bye.